If you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. If you can hear me, clap 3 times. That's like the last time I'm going to do that this year. It's crazy. All right, well, welcome. Welcome back to Confirmation. Glad to have you all with us tonight. A couple of things I want to go over before we jump into our last minute things for tonight. First of all, thanks for all your work on the tests that you guys did last week, and those of you who have not yet taken care of those. I sent out an email to all the parents that has a copy of the test. If you haven't yet taken it, grab that email, print it off, do the test, bring it back to me. Be great. And for those of you who brought me copies of the test already tonight, thank you. I will correct them and get them back to you. All of the tests that I received last week, I've already corrected and recorded and put into your folders. During your small group time tonight, one of the things I'd like you to do is get those tests. You can feel free to look through them, have some conversation around them if you like. Those are yours to keep. I've already got the scores that I need on those. Also, since tonight is the last small group conversation night of the year, grab all your stuff that you want to keep out of your folders as well. So like your small catechisms, take those with you. Keep those. Those are yours to keep. Bring them home. If there's anything that you want to keep out of the folder as well, take it tonight, because this is the last night that you guys are going to be having those folders until the fall for all of you that aren't getting confirmed this year. Also in those folders, along with the tests, are 2 copies of the discussion questions for tonight. Those are for the adult leaders. It's just questions. You don't have to write anything down. It's just conversation and doing a little bit of brief Bible study, which I'll get into in a little bit, a couple minutes about that. But that'll be kind of what we're doing for our small group tonight, as well as taking some time to be together. Again, you guys have gone through this year together with your small groups. For those of you who are not in 8th grade, you'll be continuing on with those small groups in the fall. So maybe take some time just to process what that's been like for you so far. What has this confirmation year been like? What are the things you've learned? What are the things that you haven't learned? We'll figure that stuff out. And just take some time to be together as part of our small group community. Let's see, other things I want to touch on here. Oh yeah, so the schedule. I talked about this a little bit at the beginning of worship, but just to reiterate, after tonight, we do still have a couple weeks of confirmation, just not our large and small group usual stuff. Next week will be our second service night of the week. I haven't yet finalized all of the assignments for the small groups. I'll be sending out emails probably either very late this week or early next week, kind of assigning those out to let you know where you're going to be, what you're going to be doing. A number of groups will be here, of course. We've got a number of service projects to be done on site. There are some also off site, both at different organizations around town. I think we've got 1 or 2 groups that will also be helping doing some cemetery cleanup at the Calvary Cemetery. Some people will be outside painting lines on the parking lot. All kinds of stuff that needs to get done that is a service to the community and to the congregation at large. I'll be letting you know what those projects will be. So we will not be meeting as confirmation next week, because a lot of people for the off-site stuff will be heading there before worship, that kind of thing. For everyone that's going to be here for worship, you come for worship, and then we'll do our small group stuff that's on site. The week after that is May 1st. It is a fun night. It's the very last night of this group of confirmation. We're going to be here. We're going to play some games. We're going to be in the gym. We're going to watch maybe some movies or something. Basically, we're going to have a good time for that hour, board games, pizza, all that good stuff. There'll also be an interesting, fun worship event type deal that night, because that's the last Calvary Alive before we hit the summer as well. So May 1st, final night of all confirmation stuff. 8th graders, you still have a couple weeks after that. Anybody that's going to get confirmed this year, we'll be talking about statements of faith, because you'll be writing your statements of faith this spring and then sharing them over the course of the summer. Have no fear. I will guide you through this process. I will help you in writing those statements, figuring out what it is that you want to say. We can make this work for you. But we will be doing that in the first part of May, and I'll be getting communication out to all of you about how that's going to work. Okay. Questions about the schedule? Cool. On the same page. I like it. Couple things I want to talk about with the test. First of all, you guys did a good job on this. Thank you very much for your work on it. Wanted to touch a couple of things. Something important to note about the commandments. Murder is not a commandment. All right? You're not being commanded to murder. It's not murder, okay? Don't murder. The important thing for some people to understand is that that's a very important part of the commandment. So make sure that you write out the whole thing when you do this next time. Let's see. What else did I want to touch on here? Oh, yeah. Also, make sure you turn all the pages. Some of you kind of missed that last page, but when you're taking a test, important to look at all the pages. Also, great job on the extra credit questions. You guys asked some really good questions. I did respond to all the people that asked questions on your paper. If you want to talk more about those things you're asking about, you can absolutely talk to me anytime. You can talk to your small group leaders. You can talk to anybody. We want to have those conversations as part of our faith journey together. Questions about the test? Okay. Last minute cleanup things before we delve into one quick last lesson. If you haven't finished your sermon notes for the year, most of you haven't finished them yet, but some of you have, you still have time to do those. Remember, we want to hit 6 individual sermon notes and 6 family sermon notes for the confirmation year. If you want to know how many you have, send me an email and I can let you know. Otherwise, try to get those taken care of. Yeah, that's about that type stuff. Okay, now, since we are gathered together for our final small group conversations of the year, and we've been talking a lot about the catechism. Catechism written by who? Martin Luther, right. And so a lot of the things that we've been talking about so far this year are from a particular perspective, right? We've been talking about the faith in Jesus from the perspective of the Lutheran Church and a particular kind of Lutheran church. I want to point out and spend a few minutes talking tonight about the fact that obviously that's not the only way that everyone in the entire world sees these things that we're learning about, right? You've got all kinds of different denominations of Christians around the country, around the world, who see a lot of these things in different ways. You've got different people who are Lutherans who see things different ways. Even within one church, you've got people who see things in different ways. And that's okay. I want to make sure that you understand that as we have these conversations about faith, as we talk about these ideas about God and what Jesus has done and the ways that we understand that or not understand that, it is okay to not think the same as someone next to you. It is okay to not think the same as I think, or Pastor Chris thinks, or as Pastor Brigitte thinks, or anybody else thinks. These are things that we talk about and have conversations with one another about together. God does not love us because we know all the right answers, which is good, because none of us know all the right answers, okay? It's important that we understand that we are loved by God no matter what. And we are all trying to figure things out. We all want to understand what God is up to, and when we come to these different understandings like Martin Luther did or anybody else that's put together some catechism type stuff did, we're trying to figure out what God does. But we're all trying to figure that out. And sometimes we'll disagree with each other, and that's okay. So, that's what I've put together in a little bit of a lesson that we can do with our final small group night. There's some conversation about what it means to be unified as Christians. We're part of the whole body of Christ, like I talked about in the sermon tonight, but that's not necessarily going to be with people we always agree with. Yet, we're all still part of Christ's body. And so I want us to have some conversation on this final night of talking about catechism, about this idea of what that might look like in our faith and in our life, and how we can be community together even when we disagree. So that's kind of what we're going to be talking about in small groups. There's not a lot else. That's kind of it for tonight. So what I would like you to do is take those folders with you to your small group locations, talk about the test a bit, talk about how things are going. There's some other discussion questions there with your small group leaders, and then from that, we'll wish you all a wonderful night, and we'll see you next week for service night. Thanks, guys.